Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Walker. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. This is like a very emotionally heavy episode, and I do like that it seems like we are setting up what is going to be probably the main through line for this season, and that's going to be the aftermath of everything that Cordell and Liam went through. It's staying with them. And I felt so bad for Liam when he was like, right, we need to talk about it. But Cordell was like, no, we don't need to compare notes. It's like, right, he doesn't want to talk about it because talking about it makes it real. Because despite his experiences and stuff like that, even the most trained person, I think, you won't be... because he was a Marine, so you have to go through some stuff, but it's still a thing of going through what you went through. Also, your brother went through it too, but looking at, it doesn't make that any easier. In fact, it makes it harder because every time he sees Liam, as Bonham puts it later, it's like, it's just a reminder of what he's trying to put behind him, and both of them trying to find their way forward, because Liam's like, I want to talk to you about it because you are the only one who can understand what I'm feeling like. And both of them trying to come back to life like it's nothing. And the fact is, you could tell it with Cordell even more so when he's like, hey, Stella, let me give your graduation speech. And it's just like, he's trying to pretend like everything's okay. Because the moment he walked in, he saw the pictures of himself from his Marine days in the military. And it just, you could tell it bothered him. And he's around the family and he wants them to not make a fuss about it. It's just like, let's move on. Let's pretend like everything's okay. And then we time skip 2 months. And it's just like, but even when it seems like, everything seems okay, you can tell everything's hanging on by a thread because everyone's walking on eggshells because they're afraid. No one wants to be responsible for breaking this up because Cordell is holding on. Liam seems like he's holding on, and no one wants to be the one that ends up rocking the boat, and that ends up becoming such an issue because Cordell is doing everything he can. He's pushing forward. It's like, okay, doing all this stuff for Stella. Yeah, take her out in the Corvette to drop her off to college and stuff, which August and Stella didn't tell him, but it's understandable why they didn't, because it's like with everything going on, they recognized in these 2 months like how different their dad's been and how off he's been. They're like, right, we don't want to be the ones who end up breaking you. We don't want to be the ones responsible for hurting you, being the ones that end up hurting you, because they could tell he's in a fragile state, and they are trying to handle that on their own. They were trying to buy themselves enough time, like it's a mechanic who's working on it. But the problem is, because I was wondering whether they tell their dad the truth, and it's like, did that lady and her cronies think they'd actually get away with it? Like, Cordell's going to come after you. You're going to feel the full weight of a Texas Ranger. But it's like, no, they wanted to handle this on their own. Because I'm sure there's a part of Stella like, it's my fault that things happen that way. Dad's dealing with his own thing, so I got to be the one that takes responsibility for it. So her, Colton, and August go try to deal with it themselves because they have to get the car back. In fact, they were like, let's actually go steal the car. So they're trying their best, which, Colton's trying to do his own thing too because he's trying to spend as much time with Stella. This is kind of like their last opportunity to kind of have a date. And he had it planned out. We're going to do this, do that, then like a romantic dinner. We even saw Dan at the bar, which I guess this might be the last time we see Dan in the show, maybe, because he talks about it later that he's going to go help, like him and Denise are going to give it a second shot. So once again, I talked about it. I was curious what the whole Davidson situation was going to be like this season, but it seems like this is kind of sending off that storyline to some extent, at least like Dan and Denise being left. Obviously, Gail going to jail and stuff like that. Maybe we'll hear inklings of the aftermath of that, but I think for now, Colton's going to be the Davidson that you kind of stick with as he spends time, because he's going to be working on the farm, and obviously Jerry's going to be around as well. So they're probably the only Davidsons we'll probably see going forward. Maybe we'll hear some stuff here and there about, like I said, about Gail or Denise or Dan, but this is about it. Because I love that Dan's like, wait, how'd you know that we were actually trying to make it work? It's like, you guys have spent the last calendar year, Dad, try everything you can not to get divorced. And he's like, that's true. So, but in the end, it's like, Austin has had some good and bad for them, but in the long run, it's like good and bad. It has been a better situation because they've all grown, and I think it's been a good change in totality for them. So, but circling back, the lady who stole their mom's car ended up modifying it, which you're like, I was about to say, that car looks heavily modified. I was like, oh, that's not good. So it's like, cool. So quite a lot more modifications than we thought we were going to have to get rid of. So I love the plan was going to be just kind of like a smash and grab type of situation. But didn't necessarily work out the way they planned it. I love that when August walked to the guys, they were like, "Hey, you're Pete's brother or something." And he's like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh, how you want your drink?" He's like, "A cold one." They're like, I guess they're like so wasted they didn't immediately. You would think you would remember the face of everyone because they didn't just steal the car; they beat August up too. So either way, picking up some lessons from Hoyt. The fact is that Stella ends up hot wiring the car with some help from Colton, which he's like, "Yeah, your family isn't the only one you've got like a complicated family situation to kind of teach you some like not always good things." So they hotwired the car. They were about to take off. I was like, yo, this actually went a lot smoother. And it was almost like this beautiful, like almost like Bonnie and Clyde moment that they had because earlier Colton let it slip. He was like, "I love you." And Stella was almost like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Oh, so he's never dropped the L word before." And she's like, "Colton, I love you too," because, Stella is still trying to figure out whether she actually wants to go to college or not. She talks to Cordell about it later, but it's like, yeah, like when you got kidnapped, college seems so small, so she wants to take a gap year to kind of figure things out, figure herself out. It's like, because college was never like something she 100% wanted. It just seemed like, right, that's the thing you do. You graduated high school, you potentially go to college. I didn't, but that's me. Like that's the more traditional route. I mean, that don't get twisted. My family wanted me to go to college, and there's always the opportunity to go to college later in life. You never stop learning, right? But I think for Stella, it's just like, right, it was more so because Cordell had brought it up during his speech. It's like, yeah, that's what you and Mom wanted, and it was just never like about necessarily what I wanted, because she was going with the flow because like, yeah, Mom's not around and this is what Mom would have wanted, but it's probably, I don't know if it is 100% what I want. I've got to take time to figure things out. But yeah, like I said, they had their like Bonnie and Clyde moment. They were about to get out of there. I also love August getting in another sucker punch and then taking off. But sadly, she has the car set up that she had a kill switch. But Stella confronted her. They're like, "Yeah, just get out of here." And it's like, "No, you took this car from me. This car is something like my late mom, my late uncle." And I even love I think it was like, "Oh, my late uncle gave it to my mom," or something. Or my mom gave it to my... Like, I forgot how she said it, but I love August really quickly just kind of amending that, being like... Actually, I think you got that backwards. But for her, it's like, right, like, I'm supposed to go to college, but my dad, he's fine, after being tortured and everything. Which, legitimately, that lady actually felt bad afterwards. I think that speaks volumes. She was like, "Yeah, sorry about your late mom and your uncle. And also about, condolences, like, what happened to your dad." And she's like... Right, just make sure your dad doesn't come after me and you can have the car back. We could all be square. Because she's like, I get, like, the complications of family. She looks to one of the guys and he's almost looking like, "Why the hell are you looking at me?" I wonder, are they, like, they're not just random thugs. I wonder, are they her brothers? Or is that one in particular she turned to her brother? Or maybe not even, like, maybe they're not actually biological family, but maybe, like, they are kind of like a criminal family of some sort. So I was like, wow, that ended in a very more... resolvable situation than I thought it would have been. Granted, obviously Walker kind of chews August and Stella out about it later, but the thing is, when they call him out about like, right, you haven't been okay, like you've been putting on this front for the past 2 months, and he recognized it in Stella too, that like, right, you were trying to do the same thing too, because the thing is, his way of processing all this, he was trying to put up on the front, he's trying to be happy, he's trying to be okay, because he's also trying not to handle this like the rodeo situation. What happened after the rodeo situation, after he came back from undercover, he immediately went back to ranger work, and he tried not to do that, but he was also he still was overcompensating in this regard too, because he's trying to keep everything happy, trying to keep everything, but it's also about like, self-preservation. He's trying not to think about it, he doesn't want to think about it. That's also, once again, why he's not talking to Liam, and Liam's feeling that frustration of like, right, I'm the baby brother, so we always gotta like go overboard for Cordell, because God forbid, like, he gets to dictate, how people should feel and what we get to talk about. He feels like the whole situation, he's like, right, what Cordell went through, I went through it too, and he just feels like everyone's more so focused on walking on eggshells around for Cordell and not him. And I love that moment. He was like, all right, we're going to, he talks to Bonham. Bonham's like, all right, we're going to do this thing that your mom suggested we do. And if we get uncomfortable, we can blame her, and then we can stoically go out there and hammer some wood or whatever. But it was like, right, your brother, when he going through what he went through, when he looks at you, all he sees is that. And I get it, you want to talk to him because he's the only one that can understand what you went through, but your brother's not ready to talk about it yet. Yeah, because Liam was like, oh, because he's going to therapy, that means he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to talk to me. And it's like, I'm assuming Walker, just because for work purposes, he's mandated to go to therapy and physical therapy, both, talk to a therapist and go to physical therapy. But I think in the long run, who knows, like, what's really being said in that therapy session until, I'm assuming an episode's going to have us with him in therapy, but it's like, right, just because your brother's not ready to talk yet doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to someone, Liam. And it's like, who can he talk to, I mean, he probably has to get like a therapist of his own, because it's like, it's not an easy thing to talk to, because his brother, in a situation like that, you want to be able to, we're brothers, we're supposed to lean on each other, rely on each other. And in a moment where I'm in crisis and I can't even turn to my own brother because, me being around him is a reminder of like, hey, that's even why they were going to go on this trip. Apparently this trip was planned like well in advance. But even Abby's like, yeah, did you actually talk to your brother about whether or not you're going? Because the moment he was like, yeah, we can talk on the trip, like Cordell was almost like, wait, oh, yeah, okay. Like almost like, he's like, you're not invited, but it's like, yeah, because it just would have been a reminder the entire like trip about it. So, and especially because it doesn't make things any easier when everything that Cordell has been through is written in an article that a lot of people have read. His family's read. Even Trey was like, yeah, the torture, the electrocution, he's like, the waterboarding, I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And now Cassie did, and she's worried about Cordell, and she ends up confronting him about, like, especially because there's like a bag he has with like his military stuff. Like the moment she opened that box, he was like, yeah, I think that was all the stuff potentially his mom took out when it came to all of this, and he probably like made sure to package it away because it's a nasty reminder. So when it's all said and done, Cassie's like, yeah, like our job is a job where it's like, hey, you could go out there and you might not come back home. But the fact is, having someone have your back makes this a job that is bearable. But she's like, with you the way you are right now, you're not okay. You're trying to pretend like it is. You're kind of putting up this front like you've got it all under control. But it's like, how can I trust you to have my back when you're like this, So... And she could tell something's off, but even he admits later, like, I'm going to continue trying because I still need to figure this out, but I am trying for her. It's like, that's all I needed to know, that at least being able to admit that you are not okay is kind of the first step. Because even August put it in a way where he was like, right, you might not want to admit it, but those guys who captured you, they took something from you. And I'm curious to see what ends up happening, because at the very end, Cordell's looking in the mirror and he sees a younger version of himself. It's like, oh yeah, you're the war hero, huh? So it's just like having his history thrown back in his face. Like maybe there was stuff that went down when he was a Marine that was so deeply buried that now all this torture kind of brought that to the surface. Or maybe it's just like, right, he had an idea of who he was, but now that was kind of stripped away from him, because maybe he feels like, right, I should have, maybe there's a little bit of blaming himself, not only what happened to himself, but also what happened to Liam, and feeling like, oh, I failed you. Yeah, I got us out of there, but it's still a thing of, I shouldn't have, it shouldn't have come down to this. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how they really go about explaining that, like, what that ending represented for Walker. Was it just kind of feeling like, I'm not that person anymore? Or is there... Because I feel like, once again, his commanding officer, who feels like he's a good chunk of why Walker is the way that he is, that guy seems like he might be the one behind this whole thing. Because obviously, they made the whole point at the beginning. Cordell was like, yeah, don't worry, Liam, they're making arrests right now, people connected to this group. But it's like, maybe Sean was the head honcho, but I feel like he was still just middle management. I feel like there's still someone above him, but I feel like that'll still, like, along with like Walker's PTSD and Liam's PTSD, I think those are going to be the main through lines, but I feel like there's still way more story to tell on that front. There's also, like, the element of Trey becoming a ranger. He got, like, obviously he was going through James's, like, hell week of training, and he's about to finish up. He's got his boots, his hat, and his gun and belt. So I think next episode we're going to see Trey officially as a ranger, maybe. But I'm definitely interested to see where all of this ends up taking us. I think this is going to be a very interesting thing to see. There's never been a situation where, this family's seen one thing after another. I mean, even Liam said that line of like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, well, you're back home and you're safe. And Liam made that remark of, yeah, like, this place isn't any safer. It's like, right. I mean, he got tortured, but I brought it up last episode. Let's not forget he got shot on this farm. So it's like, this place hasn't always been the safest place, and there's just a lot of pain, and there's good, but there's also a lot of bad here too. So I'm sure that's going to, like, exasperate a lot of what he's going through, and it's going to impact a lot of their relationships, especially like Ben and Liam. I could see that being complicated after everything that's going down. I could see Cordell going back to work and still not quite being himself, still not being able to quite shake it. Like I said, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.